we got a great Week 3 matchup against two great AFC teams in the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns. The Titans coming off an amazing comeback victory against the Chargers and were able to beat them in overtime, while the Browns unfortunately had a devastating loss in both the game in Week 2 against Pittsburgh Steelers, but also on the field, several injuries that we're going to take note of. But Ryan, we're going to get to Browns here in a second. There's a lot of talk about the Browns because I think they have, in my opinion, more long-term potential. But when it comes to the Titans here, good victory in Week 2 against a good Chargers team. Chargers, I think I heard the one stat they've had like 57 points between the first two games, and they're 0-2.
54.
54.
No, sorry, 58.
Okay.
34 and 24.
Somewhere in the mid-50s of total points in the first two games, and they're 0-2. And a lot of it, I think, is just from the scrappiness of both the teams that they played, including the Titans. Titans just have a very scrappy way of playing. They had a good win overall, a very Titans-esque type win here, where it was a lot of heavy defense and then not too much overall total offense. And so they rank 20th right now in total offensive yards. When it comes to passing, let me pull this up here, just double check that. They are also mid-22s, but then when it comes to running, I think that they are more inclined to their 11th overall with 245 running yards. And that's kind of the MO of the Titans. It's kind of what we expect from them. Yeah. And on the defensive side of the ball, secondary is not entirely great. I think Justin Herbert, when he had time, foreshadowing to the really good part of the Titans, when Herbert had time, he was able to pick apart the secondary of the Tennessee Titans. But that defensive front of Tennessee is just ridiculous. So what are your thoughts kind of coming into this game? Titans coming off a good win. What do they have to do to beat the Browns today?
Well, I think kind of what you said. I think the Browns are going to be much more one-dimensional now with the devastating loss of Nick Chubb. I mean, that is gruesome knee injury, and I'm worried. I know he's out for the season. I'm worried he will never be the same after that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough.
Yeah, but come in. I think they're definitely going to be able to pin their ears back and get after the passer in a similar way that they were able to against the Chargers last week. And so for me, that's what they do. The Steelers showed that they could get to Deshaun Watson. They had 2 defensive touchdowns last week. And I think this Browns defense is going to be pretty tough. So they're going to have to make it a grinded out, tough game. And and I think it starts with getting after Deshaun Watson and making him make some errant throws in the pocket, which is what the Steelers were able to do in Week 2. So
it's they're going to have to get after it because I'm just looking at it right here now. And passing yards wise, they're 5th worst in the league so far. It's only been 2 games, but they've given up 563 passing yards. And that was against a Saints offense that personally I'm a little skeptical on. And then the Chargers offense, who they can put up some yards, but still, I think Herbert had not as much as Derek Carr, but so they were able to move the ball around pretty easily. And that's more, I think, indication of that secondary because then on the rushing yard side, they are 5th overall rushing yards allowed with only 130 through 2 games. So I think that's going to be the case, and that's where I think it's kind of going to benefit the Browns in this Nick Chubb injury is where I think they were going to have a tough time running the ball anyways, but I think that they would be able to pick apart this Titans passing defense. And if I'm just being honest, watch that Monday Night Football game. Deshaun Watson just does not look good to me. He's just making poor throws. Stat line is, I mean, you'll see glimpses of the Deshaun Watson that we knew from Houston before everything happened. And then you just have some of these where it's like, man, that just looks like there's a horrible decision. There's a horrible throw. And so he's going to have to step it up. He's going to have an opportunity against this Titans secondary. In his favor, he does have one of the better offensive lines in the league. They did lose Jack Conklin. Browns are definitely getting hit with the injury bug overall, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So losing Jack Conklin at right tackle brings in DeJuan Jones, who did a fine job going up against TJ Watt, about his best he could do in his first NFL start. But then losing Nick Chubb, that's going to be huge. Deshaun Watson is going to have to step up in this game for sure.
Yeah. And for me, I think that offensive line is good, but you could draw a pretty strong correlation between when Deshaun Watson was under pressure and when he was throwing the ball well, and when he had a clean pocket and was throwing the ball well. And for me, I think that is the what Tennessee has to do is get in there and disrupt that rhythm, because right now Deshaun Watson has none, and you can't let him find it, or else he will dice them up. And he did have some good throws on Monday. But yeah, like you said, he definitely has not looked like the Deshaun Watson that they traded multiple first-round picks for and everything. So, so that for me, as far as the Browns go, I think if they can come in and make this Titans offense truly one-dimensional in terms of just taking away the run, which I think they definitely can do. They've done that in the first 2 games pretty easily. I think the secondary with Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome, I think, also was injured in the Pittsburgh game as well.
So that's one of the things too, because that's going to be. We can kind of segue now to our pick. So that's why I'm going to have Cleveland win this game.
Yeah,
actually, is because I think the Browns still have enough on the offensive side. Their Jerome Ford looked really good. Wouldn't I be surprised if Kareem Hunt was maybe signed? That was definitely immediate speculation on Monday Night Football after the injury to Nick Chubb. But I think the running game is going to be fine overall. I think the X factor is going to be this Cleveland defense going up against this Titans offense. Titans really have one way of winning, and that's just a scrappy type of game. I could see this being a very similar game as it was in New Orleans. Tannehill, I think, he's going to have a tough time finding Treylon Burks being open, because he's going to be going up against Denzel Ward or Greg Newsome if he is healthy. We'll have to see how his elbow is. He did come back in the game. That's why I was just confirming that Greg Newsome came back, because that combo of Ward and Newsome is a lethal combination when it comes to the secondary, especially anybody going up against Denzel Ward. So I think both Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins are going to have a tough time getting open. I think Ryan Tannehill is struggling a little bit to find those guys just in general. That on top of that, though, I think all of that, though, starts with Myles Garrett and a defensive front. Darius Smith did get a little banged up, but he came back in and played. I think his ankle got rolled up on. Dalvin Tomlinson is a beast. Myles Garrett obviously is Myles Garrett, and then everybody else. It's just going to create that opportunity, and the Titans are improving the offensive line, but it is still
figuring it out.
Still figuring it out. Skoronski did not play in last week's game. Well, that's something to monitor as well if he comes back in. So I think there's just going to be a little bit too much overall for the Titans to win this game on the road.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just think the Browns, this is a matchup game, and I think the Browns just match up really well with the Titans with that strong defensive front. So
absolutely,
I'm going with Cleveland as well for a lot of the same reasons that you kind of listed there. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out on top in this week's matchup. Is it going to be the Cleveland Browns? Is it going to be the Tennessee Titans? Let us know down below. And on that, we'll see you guys next time.